media in the next coming days. So the Spanish one, hopefully, like Alejandro said, will have a bigger turnout.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you, Orlando, for that. We'll make sure that we contact our media partners as well for this upcoming one. So we'll do that today and tomorrow.
Perfect.
So why don't we go ahead and get going, Tony?
Yes. So today's presentation, Guide to Reopening Your Restaurant. It is aimed to help dine-in restaurants, and it's also pubs and bars, if you have that type of business, provide us a clean and safe environment for workers and for customers. The U.S. FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, also has its own guide for restaurants, and the CDC has an additional requirement for businesses in general as they open up. But today we'll be covering what the state of California has in terms of guidance. And as a reminder, once they open up and they allow restaurants to start functioning, it's going to be mostly restaurants. So bars and pubs are still going to continue to be closed unless they provide sit-down dine-in meals and the alcohol is provided with the food. But we'll clarify that as we go through the presentation. And again, restaurants are encouraged to follow this guidance so they could open up safely for themselves and for their customers. So the first thing to keep in mind, it always starts with creating a workplace specific plan, establish a written plan, perform a comprehensive risk assessment of all your working areas, of your staff in your restaurant, designate a person to implement the plan to make sure somebody's held accountable for that plan. Train and communicate the plan to your employees and also to your partners. If you have a lot of suppliers, vendors, partners that you work with. I know, for example, Orlando, you have a lot of partners that you go and you work with to provide. When you go with your food truck, it's all about communicating with different people. In that case, and be aware if there is an illness, a COVID-19 illness in your vicinity, in your place of work, try to identify how it got started and which way you may need to redesign the plan again. But this is an ongoing thing. It's not just do it tomorrow and that's it. Next month will be clear. This is ongoing this year and for even many years to come. So some topics for employee training. Provide employees information on COVID-19, on coronavirus, how to prevent it from spreading, and which underlying health conditions make people more vulnerable and susceptible to the illness. Self-screening at home is a great way to prevent the illness from even leaving somebody's home. So if an employee could do a temperature check or check their symptoms before leaving their home, they could stop it before they even enter your place of work, before they even enter your restaurant. Also train your employees and update them on the importance of not coming to work if they feel sick. Now is not the time to be brave and say, look, I'm working even though I'm sick. No, if they have a cold, a fever, difficulty breathing, chills, etc., have them stay home and foster a work environment, a restaurant environment where you encourage people and it's okay for them to stay home if it's sick. I know sometimes there's stories of business owners saying, yeah, don't worry. I guess you're too sick to come into work. Being sarcastic and being passive aggressive, that does nobody any good, because if the employee feels pressure to come into work and they do get sick, they are sick, everybody gets sick, your business is going to be really affected. So at least do it for your business if you're not doing it morally because you want to take care of your employees. But also let them know about proper use of face coverings, including everyone, if possible, should be wearing face coverings. They're not personal protective equipment. They're not PPE, but it does cover those around you. So you as the one who's wearing it, maybe spreading your germs along the way. So face coverings work if everybody's wearing them. So if you're the only one that's wearing them and nobody else around you is, so the coronavirus or whatever, it's going to come into your nostrils, into your mouth. So, but if everybody's wearing a covering, then that makes it more safe. They also
And
stress
so,
the
and so,
employees. Go
so,
ahead.
so really briefly, I think one of the things that is being really emphasized in Monterey County, and it's been being emphasized a whole lot more since last week, and that's across the board, not just for restaurants, not just for businesses, but just across the board, has been the issue of testing. And so there's a great push for testing to be happening in Monterey County and throughout the state, just because it will help to determine where folks are sick and what is going on. And so there is a page on our Facebook, as well as the County of Monterey has it, and BHC has posted it. There's just a number of organizations. LULAC has posted it. Just a lot of different organizations have been posting.
There he is. You dropped off a little bit. There you are.
Sorry if I lost you guys there. Sorry about that.
Go ahead, continue. You were saying there's a lot of organizations posting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of posting of the place, the location of where you can get testing, and it's LHI Care /COVID testing. And so it is in Salinas. The location where folks can go get tested at is over at LSL High. So LSL High has the place where folks are testing folks. So there is a and if you look at our Facebook, if you look at the Facebook pages for BHC in East Salinas, or if you look at the city of Salinas or the county of Monterey, you'll find that that site. And it's important because we are making sure that wanting that folks are testing as many people as they can.
Indeed, yeah, and it also I'm thinking it's going to create like a better work environment where, you could go into your place of work, or you as a business owner, you're aware, hey, my employees they've been tested, they're negative, right? So everything's all good. I can proceed. So thanks for bringing that up. For sure.
Thank you.
So individual controls, measures, and screenings provide temperature and or symptom screenings for all workers at the beginning of their shifts, and vendors, contractors, or other workers entering the establishment. Now, Alejandro, is that a law? Is that a requirement that you have to test every employee every day before they even start their shift, or what do you know about that?
So what's happening is most of the locations are testing their employees before the shift. And that's something that is happening throughout most of the industries, but it hasn't gone to not every single business I think is doing it, although that is the recommendation that every business should be doing it to not only protect themselves, protect their employees, but protect the public. So it's a combination of everything. And so it is highly recommended that should be happening on a daily basis, besides just asking the employee. And that's the minimum of asking the employee if they've been sick, if they've had a temperature, but the providing the ability to screen the workers orally or verbally has to happen. Having a testing device is something that's being highly recommended. Orlando, how are you guys handling it in your business?
For us, it is the since we have to have a thermometer on the trailer anyway. Some of the employees have taken it upon themselves to test. Since we all are around each other all the time, we do the face mask, the covering. And everybody knows that if they start feeling warm, they take their temperature. Any coughs, any chills, anything like that, we're always constantly asking each other, hey, before the shift, hey, so everything okay? How do you feel? And things like that. To be honest with you, it seems like a little much to be asking your employees all the time, but I mean, we got to do it. There's no way around it. I mean, and we're just, and then we kind of shortened it up a little bit to be like, how you feel today? And they already know what we're asking, like, so do you have a temperature? Do you have chills? So that's how we're handling it.
Okay, great. Yeah. So the minimum is that piece of the asking, checking in with them. The piece that's being recommended is the actual checking of the temperature.
Indeed, indeed. And it's Orlando, after you do that, even though, it's like every day, do you guys feel more comfortable in the work environment and just getting down to work once that's kind of out of the way in a way? Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
we just feel like, you know what, at least we're not assuming that
Yes.
everybody's okay, so that's I think where and like I said, we're trying to do everything we can to keep everybody safe. So I mean, it just takes another couple seconds to ask how everybody's doing.
Yeah, definitely. And that way, yeah, you guys are more comfortable and just go on with the day. So that's a really good point. And to continue, again, encourage employees after feeling sick to stay home. Employers should provide and ensure workers use all required protective equipment, including face coverings and gloves where necessary. Face coverings are strongly recommended when employees are in the vicinity of others. And restaurants should remind the public to use face coverings when they go into their establishments and practice physical distancing, even while they're waiting for takeout or as they're waiting for service as well.
And really quickly, before we move into this other area, which would be the next step of where the restaurants are going to be heading to, I just wanted to ask Griselda, since you have a business where folks come in as well and are making appointments to come to your business, as well as the one for you, Orlando, they're making, in a way, appointments because they're doing it online, so they're purchasing the food online, so you kind of already know people are coming, not necessarily who they are, but you know that they're coming. In regards to that, when somebody shows up to your business, Griselda or Orlando, and they're not wearing a face mask, have you had that happen? And how do you handle that? And in regards to have you had somebody who just won't do it, who refuses to put on a face mask?
So for us, we have the store closed and we're just seeing my appointment, but everybody seems very well. Everybody has a face mask. Yeah, so we don't have any issues with nobody.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Griselda.
With us, to be completely honest with you, Alejandro, since we have very limited interactions with the customer, and since we're elevated on the top of the truck, we have found that with our arm's length and their arm's length, and being able to give them the food, in some cases, we haven't had too many people that haven't came with masks. But to completely honest with you, since they're just picking it up, we don't really enforce it. I know that it's something in the Monterey County that is enforced, but to be quite honest with you, we haven't had too many instances where we're just, we can't hand you your food if you don't have the mask. So right. To answer your question, yeah.
Okay, just curious about it because I know that in the food trucks it's a little different because it's not a closed environment. You guys are separate from folks. Correct. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
So this next piece that Tony was going to talk about is in regards to the next phase, which will be the opening of restaurants, and it's moving really quickly. Yesterday, the governor stated that he has taken some measures off of what were the requirements for moving forward to the second part of stage 2. He has said that, and I don't know how to say it in a nice way. He basically has said that the deaths, that's not going to be necessarily part of the equation any longer. Before it was, if there was a death in a county within the last 14 days, that was going to stop the movement of moving forward with the phase. However, as of yesterday, he has stated that will no longer be the determining factor. There will be other factors besides that, including the amount of folks that are sick and the percentage of folks that are sick per every 100,000.
Interesting. That's good to know. That way we could all be aware of that.
So what that means is that it will be moving a little faster than it had been in the past, as far as moving into the next phase. So it sounds like it's about to happen pretty soon. The Monterey County health officer today put a roadmap in regards to how it will be moving forward. And it was very brief. There wasn't a whole lot to it, but what he basically is saying is that the roadmap is showing that we're going to be proceeding into the second part of the second stage, which means restaurants possibly will be opening up pretty soon. And that's what, in part, why we wanted to kind of have this discussion, is because once that happens, we want to make sure that these restaurants are prepared. And having walked into many of them today, a lot of them are pretty close to being prepared, if not fully prepared for that next stage.
Got it. Yeah. To continue, individual control measures and screenings. So servers and bussers who handle dirty cups, plates, napkins, trash bags, etc., should use disposable gloves and aprons when doing so. They should also wash their hands before putting them on, the gloves and the aprons, and after removing them. So taking that extra precaution is key. Dishwashers, now we're talking about dishwashers, must protect their eyes, nose, and mouth from contaminant splash using a combination of face coverings, protective glasses, and/or face shields. Dishwashers must be provided impermeable aprons and must change them frequently. Reusable protective equipment such as shields and glasses should be properly disinfected between uses. Cleaning and disinfecting protocols, continuing. Perform thorough cleaning in high traffic areas such as customer waiting areas, break rooms, lunch areas, and areas of ingress and egress, including host stands, entryways, stairways, stairwells, escalators, and handrails. Frequently disinfect commonly used surfaces, including doors, door handles, light switches, waiting area chairs, credit card terminals, ATM pin pads, receipt trays, bus stubs, serving trays, water pitcher handles, toilets, phones, hand washing facilities. Alejandro, what do you recommend for a restaurant or a business? Like, for example, the door handles, is it like every time somebody comes in the restaurant, every 30 minutes, every hour? What have you seen with establishments around that?
So most of the establishments are doing a minimum of once an hour is what they're doing, a minimum of doing that. As far as those high areas, some folks are doing it as soon as somebody touches the pin pads, they're going over and cleaning those pin pads. So every business is doing it a little bit different, but the minimum requirements that the state is asking for is for those high touch areas done at least once an hour. And then same thing with the doors, same thing with the pin pads, at least once an hour. Like I said, other businesses, many of the businesses are doing a lot more often than that. The surfaces, as far as more of a deep cleaning, they're doing it in the morning when they come in, and they're doing it in the afternoon once they're getting ready to close down for the most part. But constant cleaning every hour is happening in a lot of is what is being the protocol for most of the businesses. And one of the things that will be the requirement from when Monterey County Health Department stops by businesses, it will be asking for all your written policies and your protocols. And so that will be something that, they've stopped by in the last couple of weeks at some of the businesses, and they will continue to do that to make sure that folks are following their guidelines, their protocols, and best practices.
Thank you, definitely. To continue also, frequently clean items touched by customers, especially those that might attract contact from children, like candy machines, toy vending machines, random fish tanks, if you have fish tanks in your restaurant, display cases, etc. Clean touchable surfaces between shifts or between users, whichever is more frequent, including working surfaces, registers, tablets, appliances, kitchen utensils, oven doors, grills, and range knobs, carts, trolleys, keys, etc. Discontinue the shared of audio sets. If you have a business like a drive-through business, etc., that have the audio sets or other equipment that employees sometimes would share. If it was a typical year, these employees would share this equipment, but stop doing that. Discontinue the sharing of equipment between employees, and also sanitize that equipment as well. Provide time for workers to implement cleaning practices during their shift. So build that into their shift to make sure cleaning is part of their job in a way. Contact third-party cleaning companies if you need somebody to come in and take care of that, depending on your work situation. Well, a question, Alejandro, as an employer, could you force your employees to start cleaning? What if an employee says, oh, I got hired, to be an engineer or a cook? I'm not going to be cleaning, for the customers. I don't know if you've experienced that.
We haven't experienced that yet. We haven't had a person tell us that that's happened, although I'm sure with so many businesses out there, it's got to happen at some point with some of the businesses. I mean, hopefully there is, and I'm not giving any advice on HR at this point or anything like that. But I think that the reality is that there hopefully is a clause in the job description which has and other jobs, other duties as assigned will be there. But I think that part of it is you may have to look at if there's a possibility of adding an extra pay for some of the cleaning that needs to happen, because there is that fear that you will have a more opportunity to get something transmitted to that person that is touching those services. So I think making certain that they have those gloves, that they have the protective equipment in order to be able to clean, I think is really important. I think for the most part, I don't think you're going to see that as an issue for most employees. But if it does, I think it's an issue that you're going to have to address, and we're more than welcome to take any calls like that if that were to happen, to figure out how we can be helpful to give some information or direct them to the right place, hopefully.
Yeah, and also, there's a bunch of SUBA members and a bunch of other small business owners. So definitely by us sharing our stories and sharing what we're seeing in our respective businesses, we could kind of give tips to each other, consejos, so to help each other out. So a good point. Also equip dining rooms, bar areas, host stands, kitchens, etc., with proper sanitation products, including hand sanitizer, sanitation wipes, etc., especially for the staff that is directly assisting customers. Ensure bathrooms stay operational and stocked at all times, and provide additional soap, paper towels, sanitizer when needed. Restaurants should increase fresh air circulation by opening windows or doors. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, just keep the air circulating in your business is key. And
really quickly, if we have, I know we have Oscar on the line. Oscar, if, and I know that one of the suggestions I had given to the city some time ago, I'm sure that it's a difficult suggestion, was in regards to looking at the city possibly procuring PPP items or getting disinfectants, so that businesses such as small businesses would have opportunities to purchase directly from the city. And I know that probably isn't something that's going to move forward, but I don't know if that conversation ever happened amongst city staff or amongst the city and the county, because it seems like at one point it was very difficult for some of the businesses to procure some of those items because they were in such huge demand. And so I'm just wondering if any consideration has been given to figuring out if there is going to be any kind of supplies that folks could purchase directly from, a local government.
Alejandro, Lisa and I have briefly talked about that. I am working, I had mentioned to you, I think last Friday, that I was working on a list, a protocol. And she did mention to try to include regarding PPP equipment there. I'm pretty sure I'll touch bases with her tomorrow morning regarding this to see what we could work on. But yeah, we briefly talked about it in previous conversations. So yeah, unfortunately at this moment, I don't have an answer, but I'll work on that and try to get an answer.
Perfect. Thank you. Alejandro, there you are. You dropped off a little bit.
I'm back on.
You're back.
Yeah,
okay.
Sometimes the internet connection dies on me.
Cool, no worries. To continue to cleaning and disinfecting protocols, provide disposable menus So again, today we're talking about restaurants. So as a restaurant, you have menus, right, for the customer. So provide disposable menus to guests and make menus available online digitally so that customers can view on their personal phone or personal device. If disposable menus cannot be provided, properly disinfect menus before and after customer use. Consider options for customers to order ahead of time. And I see it all the time, Orlando. You take pre-orders for your food items, for everything you have to offer. Is it part of your business strategy? Is it because of taking measures to be safe and healthy and sanitation wise?
This is definitely something that is driven by the COVID that we're taking the pre-orders. But even before pre-COVID, because we had to have a plan in place even prior to getting the trailer, because we sent it to go get manufactured. It took weeks and things like that. So we were already starting to toy with the idea. I actually had gone in contact with Chow Now last year. And that was just to kind of give a boost to our ordering system. You can physically order in person and then also have the pre-orders. But I mean, it was perfect timing, because since we already had the application developed, I mean, it was perfect. Now people can go and order that way, just until everything kind of gets a little bit more safe.
Definitely. That's great to hear. So pre-orders, order ahead of time, avoid the menus, and provide disposable menus. So I've seen a lot of the paper menus, you toss it. To continue, discontinue pre-setting tables with napkins, cutlery, glassware, foodware, etc. These should be supplied individually to customers as needed. Do not leave card stands, flyers, napkin holders, or other items on the table. So we're looking to avoid having items on the table where multiple people could touch them. Suspend use of shared food items like condiment bottles. So, in the past where we had the ketchup, the mustard, the syrup for your pancakes, you pass it around from table to table. No longer will that be the case. Even the salt and pepper shakers, do not provide those. Do not leave those on tables, because people are going to be sharing them. So that's not good. But you can provide these items in single servings, single serve containers, if possible. I think it was last week where I went to a Panera Bread in San Jose, and I'm not sure it's the same case here, but I was able to walk in and they gave me my napkin, my utensils individually, and my cup and my lid, and like, here you go. And I was off. I wasn't able to grab stuff on my own or get the ketchup. I love ketchup, so I'll be like, all kinds of ketchup. So they're like, oh, you can't do that. So yeah, so that's gonna be the case in other locations. So where this is not possible, so ideally that should be ideal, but shared items such as condiment bottles, shakers, etc., they should be supplied as needed. So if it's not possible to give individual servings, they need to be supplied as needed and disinfected after each use. So with that said, Alejandro, so is it like illegal now to have like salt and pepper out on your table? Is this more of a law or more of a suggestion? How does the guideline work? You're muted, by the way. Sorry, you're muted.
So there we go. So it's definitely not a law. As
I think we dropped them off again. But looks like he froze. Everybody else could hear me, right? Or did I freeze? No, Orlando, you could hear Griselda. Or we'll wait for him to come back on. ¿Me escuchas, Alejandro? Yep. Okay, I'm going to continue. Ahorita que regrese, when he returns, we'll continue the conversation, because I want to know if it's a law or not, what's going on. He dropped off. He'll come back. So pre-roll utensils and napkins. That's interesting, right? That's key. So if you have utensils, pre-roll them in napkins. Employees must wash hands before pre-rolling these utensils in the napkins. The pre-roll should be stored in a clean container After an employee washes their hand and after they pre-roll utensils and napkins, I'm assuming disposable utensils, disposable napkins, they need to be stored in a clean container. And after customers are seated, the pre-roll should be placed on the tables by an employee who recently washed their hands. So there's all these different measures they're going through, right? The pre-rolled utensils and the napkins, don't just leave them on the table. You need to give them to the customer after they actually sit down. Reusable customer items such as utensils, foodware, bread baskets. So if you're not handing out disposable, because I understand it's going to get expensive, right? A bunch of disposables. So if you have a restaurant and you have the reusable forks and spoons, they must be properly washed, rinsed, and sanitized before giving them back to new customers. And that's always been the case, I guess, but just be aware of these more strict rules to really make sure those reusable items are sanitized before giving them back to other customers. Clean flatware, stemware, dishware, etc., must be properly stored away. Cleaned dishware, clean stemware must be properly stored away from customers and personnel until ready to use. So after you sanitize these reusable items, you need to keep them stored away and keep them clean before taking them out for customers again. And use disposable items if proper cleaning is not feasible. So it looks like they're really going towards disposable items, but again, it could get expensive if that's all you do all the time. Alejandro is back. Alejandro, is this, my last question was, is this a new law or are these guidelines or what's going on here?
It is not a law, but what it is it's basically, that is the direction that's being given by the state. And so the health departments are following those protocols, or asking for those protocols to be followed. And so it'll be difficult for some restaurants to move in that direction only. And I know that is something that they are doing. So if you look at the restaurants that are open right now, that is what they're doing. They're using disposable containers. Each one is doing different ways. For example, El Zacatecano, they're using aluminum trays that are covered, and those are the takeouts that are being given. Some places are using the what do you call it? The cardboard style takeout. And so there's just a variety of different takeouts that are being utilized. The same thing for the rolled up napkins with the utensils. So it isn't necessarily a law, but it is what is being guided. And so once the businesses are open and they're going to be able to have seating, it will be interesting to figure that piece out for some of them, because it's going to be difficult for them to continue doing that throughout the process of doing regular business. It may work at first for a short period of time when you have the amount of folks that are actually eating at a lower capacity, but once you get to a little bit higher capacity, it will be somewhat difficult. So I'm not sure if those regulations or guidance will be changed, but we'll see that. And I'm not sure if Oscar has a better answer than I do.
No, you answered it correctly, Alejandro. Nothing to add.
Okay,
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So takeout containers must be filled by customers themselves and available only upon request. Dirty linens used at dining tables, such as tablecloths and napkins, should be removed after each customer use and transported from dining areas in a sealed bag. Employees should wear gloves when handling these dirty linens. Thoroughly clean each customer dining location after every use. This will include disinfecting tables, chairs, booster seats, high chairs, booths, etc., and allowing adequate time for proper disinfection.
And just talking about, in-store dining, one of the things that's happening right now, I know Carmel and Pacific Grove are talking about doing outdoor seating for dining in order to meet those new guidelines as far as separation of customers. And I know that other cities will be talking about that. And I know that in talking to a couple of businesses today while I was dropping off flyers, some have indicated if that could be a possibility within the city of Salinas for that to happen, where sidewalks are utilized for outdoor dining to try to have that separation of dining. And in some places it may work. I'm not sure if the city will be amenable to that, but I know that that is something that restaurants are asking, because there are some restaurants that are really small, and for them to be able to have in-house seating, in restaurant seating, will be very difficult unless there is other accommodations that are made where they can have that type of seating. I know that in talking to a couple of them, they were asking that question because they did hear in the news that Carmel and Pacific Grove are considering those changes over by their city council.
Got it. That's good feedback. Continuing, closed areas where customers may congregate. So you want to consider not having customers congregate, touch food or foodware items that our other guests may have used. Provide these items to guests individually and discard or clean any and disinfect after each use as appropriate. So this may include self-service areas where, like condiment caddies, where you have like the ketchup, like if you have a sandwich shop, right? You have your mayonnaise, your ketchup, your pickles. Right. A location where you have your napkins, your lids, your straws, your water pitcher. So avoid having customers go grab stuff on their own.
Yeah, and it'll be difficult for certain places. I mean, if you had if you're a restaurant that had a buffet, that is going to be, there's going to have to be a different way of doing business in this new environment. So when we talk about, a restaurant that is just a buffet is going to be challenging for them. I think also when you look at a place like and I'm not picking on that particular business, but just thinking of it in South Salinas, the salad shop, where it's a salad, you make your own salad. Those types of businesses, they're going to have some different challenges. And so, there will be some challenges to figuring out how they change things.
Perfect. Good point. Also, ice machines, soda machines, frozen yogurt dispensers. Avoid having all that, because all these are self-service. See, you want to avoid customers serving themselves. And like you just said, the buffets and the salsa bars. We all love going out in the taquerias, restaurants, getting that extra salsa and the green salsa, the red salsa, the extra limon. And so no more of that. And so at least we could figure something out. So again, self-service stations invites multiple people grabbing a bunch of stuff. So that is to be avoided. Discontinue tableside food preparation and presentation, such as food items, selection carts. You'll be at some restaurants, they'll bring out a cart with all the different steaks you could choose from and enjoy. Other cool restaurants are where they prepare guacamole in front of you. And what kind of sucks is one of the reasons people go to restaurants is not just to eat, but for the experience. And a lot of this is part of the experience where, hey, I'm gonna go get a nice dinner or a nice steakhouse. Yes, I could make a steak at home, or I could make some chilaquiles at home, but no, I wanna see how they make the guacamole in front of me, or going to is it Benihana's, right, where they make the food in front of you there. So it looks like that is going to be discontinued for the time being. Do not leave out after meal mints. When they give you the mints, the candies, the snacks after you have a meal, that's not going to be allowed anymore. Don't do that. Offer them with the check, so you could give that individually, that mint, or even the fortune cookies at the restaurants. Install hand sanitizer dispensers, touchless if possible. It's always good to have touchless. Add guest and employee entrances and contact areas such as driveways, reception areas, dining rooms, etc. Discontinue use of shared entertainment items such as board games, pool tables, arcade games, vending machines, closed game and entertainment areas where customers may share items. So, Alejandro, like bowling alleys or like Chuck E. Cheese, do you envision these guys are gonna be able to open up like like they were in the past? I mean, that's hard to envision now, right? Because so many people come together and just grab everything.
It's going to be tough, I think, for some of these businesses. Even, I mean, places where have jukeboxes, where they have contracts with folks that with vendors that have jukeboxes. I mean, there's just, a lot of things that people are going to have to think about what they have in their business, changing some of their structure of their business. For some of the ones that you mentioned, when you talk about a bowling alley or you talk about a business like that,
Chuck E. Cheese or something, like
Chuck E. Cheese. When we talk about something, it's going to be. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to handle those. We don't have any of those in our area, but there definitely is, machines where folks put quarters in to, try to get, plush toys. Those kinds of things are going to be changed for them for sure. And I do notice that we have somebody else on our participants. It just says V. So, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself to the folks here.
Let's see, and I don't think they're on mute either. Welcome, V.
So the next piece is talking about physical distancing guidelines. And I know that part of what I mentioned earlier was about looking at outdoor seating, also continue with curbside pickup and really prioritizing that, prioritizing takeout, delivery, drive-through options for businesses is going to be something that will continue because of the the capacity issue is going to be something for restaurants. It's not defined right now exactly what it is. I know San Benito right now has moved forward in that direction. So I think we probably will take a look at what they're doing over there to kind of give more direction to our businesses in our area.
Yes. So physical distancing guidelines, that's part of the presentation as we're approaching the top of the hour. So prioritize outdoor seating and curbside pickup to minimize cross-flow of customers in enclosed environments. Restaurants can expand their outdoor seating and alcohol offerings in those areas if they comply with local law and regulation. Provide takeout, delivery, and drive-through options for customers when possible. Encourage reservations to allow time for the area to be disinfected. So make some time between reservations of guests. Provide guidance via digital platforms and possible to remind customers to keep away from each other, which is gonna be hard, like at a bar when they open up, right? But we're talking about restaurants today. Consider allowing dine-in customers to order ahead of time, like Orlando does, pre-orders, to limit the amount of time spent in the restaurant, in the establishment, where again, creates that challenge, right? Because a lot of the times you go to an establishment, you go to a restaurant for the experience. You want to be there, you want to hang out there, you don't want to just grab food and go home. In that case, just make your own food at home, right? So we'll see. Ask customers to wait in their cars or away from the restaurant while waiting to be seated. If possible, alert patrons through their mobile phones when their table is ready. Don't hand out any buzzers, any of those items that many customers could touch. Alejandro, if they allow food, out on the sidewalks and people to eat, how does I don't know if you could even answer this, but like the alcohol. So what if you're a restaurant that serves alcohol? Isn't there like rules that you need to serve it within your establishment and you can't do it outside?
Yeah. It's everything is complex and everything's changed for this COVID. So I'm not sure. I think that there's going to have to be some exceptions to some of the stuff. I'm not sure if the alcohol piece will be something that would be an exception, but I know there's going to have to be some kind of compromise. I'm not sure if the city will be interested in those compromises or wanting to do something like that. But I think that the ask needs to be there from Suba to the city to find out if that's a possibility. In some places, it's not a possibility because the short sidewalk is too narrow and it won't work for certain areas. But in some areas, that possibility should at least be looked at.
Got it. Continuing, implement measures to ensure physical distancing of at least 6 feet between workers and customers. This can include use of physical partitions or visual cues like floor markings or signs to indicate where employees and where customers should stand. Install physical barriers or partitions at cash registers, bars, if you have a bar, host stands, and other areas where maintaining physical distance may be very difficult. Any areas where guests or employees queue should also be clearly marked for appropriate physical distancing. These include check stands, terminals, deli counters, restrooms, lobbies, waiting areas, etc. Physical distancing protocols should be used also in kitchens and pantries, walk-in freezers, or other high-density, high-traffic employee areas. And of course, face coverings are key. So if there's if your restaurant is designed a certain way, which a lot of restaurants are, right? Usually the larger your space, the more rent you're paying. So you have a small space, have everybody wear a face mask because you may not be able to maintain that physical distancing like in the kitchen, etc.
Right.
Employee pre-shift meetings, if you're having meetings with your employees, and training should be conducted virtually or in a space where there's enough room for people to be in there to have those meetings. Stagger employee breaks to maintain physical distancing protocols, so try to stagger those breaks. Consider offering workers who request modified duties. So if somebody does not want to be in front of customers all the time, maybe that you could place them in another position, like managing inventory, being behind the scenes. But I don't know, again, we're not HR experts, but if an employee doesn't want to be like a cashier, or they don't want to be in a position where they encounter customers, like as an employer, do you force them? Are you held liable? I know you probably don't have the answer, Alejandro, but these are questions that are going to be coming up and we all should be aware of them.
Yeah, I think that it's something that we need to have better answer to, and we'll definitely take a look at a little closer when we do our next webinar in regards to restaurants, as well as with the clothing industry and the next steps that are happening. But I know that, I don't think I had a good answer earlier in talking about this, but I think that we would hope that there's a good rapport between the employer and the employee to understand the importance of the different duties that folks have at their job. And so I think that there is definitely, usually in most job descriptions, there is a variety of different tasks that need to be done, and sometimes there are tasks that we normally don't do as employees.
Yes, thank you. And reminder, bar area should also continue remaining closed to customers. Remove tables and chairs from dining areas so that 6 feet of physical distance can be maintained for customers and employees. So rearranging your dining room is going to be a big part of your strategy as you reopen your restaurant. If tables, chairs, or booths cannot be moved, use visual cues to show that they are not available for use, or install plexiglass or other types of barriers to minimize exposure between customers. So I've seen different things like this at a McDonald's in Morgan Hill. It was like before they shut everything down, they were marking big X's in the dining room that you couldn't sit in a certain table or a certain chair. I've seen like a story in the news about a fancy restaurant, I think New Orleans or somewhere, that were putting mannequins, dummies in the restaurant. So they were all dressed up like in a 1920 style clothing. It was like a fancy steakhouse, but there's a mannequin or a dummy there. You can't sit there, obviously. So that was interesting. But yeah, rearrange your dining room to ensure physical distance. And if you can't move around the tables, make sure you let people know that area is off limits, or that chair, that table's off limits. Discontinue seating of customers where customers cannot maintain 6 feet of distance from an employee, also not just from each other, but from an employee, and any place, any location where there's food and drink preparation, keep employees or keep customers away from those places as well. Adjust maximum occupancy.
And I think overall,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, just adjust the max occupancy rules and then limit the amount of people inside your restaurant.
And I think overall, I think most of the restaurants have done a good job of taking care of that. I think the next step once they start opening is going to be the challenge of trying to figure out how to put and rearrange their dining rooms once that starts again. And so I know that, like I said earlier at the video conference, is that it's coming soon. We're not exactly sure, but I know that just because of what the governor has said, it's laying out the groundwork of restaurants opening soon to dine in. And so I think that being prepared is important, and knowing exactly how that plan will be put in place. I know in talking to one particular restaurant the other day, they were already imagining how they were going to put their tables and basically take some of the tables out to figure out how they could have that physical distancing.
Yes, indeed. Is the health department eventually going to make visits, Alejandro, do you think, to these restaurants and ensuring this is taking place, or what's your take on that?
Excuse me. Yes, they've been doing visits, and so they will continue to do visits. They've been stopping by not only just restaurants, but they've been stopping by clothing stores that are doing curbside. They've been stopping by a variety of different businesses, but for restaurants, for sure, they've been stopping by all over Salinas and all over Monterey County. And so they've been doing it for the last 3 weeks.
Got it. Sounds good. And continue here. Limit as a restaurant, limit the number of employees that are going to an individual table or an individual party. We often get families or groups of people that come together. So if they're coming together, if they're one family or one household, one group, you could place them together. People in the same party seated at the same table don't have to be 6 feet apart because they're all together. All members of the party must be present before seating, and the host must bring the entire group of people, the entire party, to the table at once. Face coverings are required for employees, the servers, the managers, the bussers, food runners, who are usually 6 feet within customers. So if you're getting close to customers, wear that face cover. All restaurant workers should minimize the amount of time spent around, at least within 6 feet of customers and guests. Close break rooms or minimize employees congregating in those break rooms. Reconfigure kitchens to maintain physical distancing from employees themselves. And where practical, you could stagger the shifts to not have all the employees back there in the kitchen all at once, right? So again, it may be difficult depending on your restaurant and your kitchen. Discourage food preparation from employees. Discourage food preparation employees from changing or entering. Discourage employees from entering each other's work areas and where they're each preparing food. Discourage employees from congregating in high traffic areas such as bathrooms, hallways, bar areas, credit card stands. Establish directional hallways and passageways. That way you guide them and guide the foot traffic and require employees to avoid handshakes, like what's up, etc., or similar greetings. So again, now we're talking about employees not congregating with themselves, keeping them apart. And, we'll see how difficult that is as they naturally just want to hang out with each other and work as a team. Overall, eliminate person-to-person contact for delivery of goods wherever possible. Designate drop-off locations to receive deliverables away from high traffic areas. Maintain your physical distance from those delivery drivers. Guests should enter doors that are propped, open, or automated. So that's interesting here. They're encouraging restaurants, just keep the doors open. Don't make guests or customers grab that door handle every time just to get into the establishment. Keep the doors open or make them automated so nobody has to physically open the door. And if that's not possible, provide hand sanitizers. After they touch that doorknob, they should wipe and clean their hands. Implement during peak hours, as many restaurants have peak hours where they're busy, a queue system where an employee is keeping them in line and discouraging the guests or the customers from congregating and waiting in areas, like Saturday morning at a breakfast place, everyone's packed in there. Employees should not open the doors of cars or taxi cabs for guests, so avoid that. Take food items should be made available using contactless pickup, delivery protocols, avoid touching others' pens, clipboards, so employees have different items that they use as part of their shift. So avoid even like that's something interesting. Just a pen, right? Here's a pen. Somebody's trying to sign. So we'll see. But what do you think, Alejandro, they're going to be doing? Like when somebody's trying to sign a check, are they going to have pens or not? Or are they going to swipe without a signature? I wonder how that's going to be.
Yeah,
Right?
it'll be interesting. I think it's just a changing every day. I think things happen every day. But I think we want to wrap the webinar up for today. And I think that the key pieces to this is to make sure that there's a plan in place for the business, to make sure that folks are wearing their face coverings, that there are protocols in place of that they're following, that there is training that is happening for their employees, that there is a preparation for the business itself when the dine-in happens, be it physical distancing for the tables, physical distancing for the employees, and physical distancing for the whole area, but also making sure that you have the equipment available to do the disinfection, the cleaning, everything that needs to happen to make sure you have either disposable menus, you have digital menus, that you have contactless ways of paying if you can. So making it as easy as possible for yourself to make sure that there's at least amount of contact as possible is basically the message that we have here today, making sure that folks understand and things are posted on the walls, things are posted on doors of what those rules are, that there's markings on the ground for distancing, just being aware of folks, of what they're doing and allowing the customers to understand what's happening in the restaurant as well. And then making sure that your employees know what are the rules and what are the protocols and what they should be doing to disinfecting it, be it every time something gets touched, or if the protocol is every hour that something is getting touched, and making sure that there's a deep cleaning at the beginning of the business day and at the end of the business day. And those are the kind of the big considerations for our restaurants to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. So before we close, I wanted to check to see if anybody had any questions from those that are here today, or if there was anything that maybe Oscar wanted to add from the city of Salinas. Okay,
sorry, I was muted.
Go ahead.
So,
yes,
sorry. So I was saying that that I will bring to Lisa's attention, or to the city, the question you posed regarding other cities like Pacific Grove opening. I think it's like the street or the sidewalks to accommodate those dine-in restaurants to have outdoor seating. We did talk about that also in the past, about maybe having to change our protocols or requirements for businesses to be able to do outdoor activity. In this case, setting up tables to space out and continue to have the social distancing. So I'll bring that up in my next meeting with Lisa tomorrow morning, as well as find out more about PPE equipment for the small businesses that might be struggling and getting that equipment.
Okay, thank you, Oscar.
And I had a question.
Orlando, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, my buddies have a business. It's called Aromas Bar and Grill, and I might be mistaken, but I think I saw a post saying that they can now have customers dine in the San Benito County lines. Do you guys know anything about? Is that right, Alejandro?
Yeah, as of last Friday, San Benito County was given permission to move forward with in dining, and as of yesterday, the state of California gave the go ahead to 28 counties to move forward to the next stage. So on Friday it was 7. As of yesterday, it's 28.
Oh, wow.
So at this point, we're just waiting for the county of Monterey to take a look at the numbers, to look at the data, and make a determination of when they want to move forward.
Got it. Okay.
All right. If we have no other questions, we thank you for participating to this evening. Tony, thank you so much. Griselda, Orlando, Oscar, and I don't know who the person V is, but thank you so much for listening in. So thank you guys all so much. We really
Cool.
appreciate it.
We'll
And
send everybody the
Thursday,
recording and the slides also of this.
perfect. Thank you so much, Tony. And we'll send those out. Tony will get those out to you. And thank you so much for participating. And we'll have another one just like this on Thursday at the same time, but it will be in Spanish. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Español.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.